Welcome to the Private Lenders Podcast with your hosts from Hard Money Bankers, Jason Dalen and Chris Haddon. This podcast is sponsored by hardmoneymastermind.com.
Hey everyone, Chris and Jason here, Private Lenders Podcast. Thank you for checking out the show real quick, and then we'll get started. If you haven't done so already, go check out Lender Software, LENDR software.com. The founder, Bryce Matheson, is also a lender and a member of the Mastermind group. He's creating a really, really cool product. If you haven't done so, go check out LENDR software.com. Mention this podcast for a discount. Okay, we're talking some sales and marketing stuff that we've been working a lot on recently. We have things in the works, things that are developing and coming out new, because the reality is that some of the old stuff still works, but there are new ways to get attention, turn them into leads, turn them into customers, nurture them over time. I mean, it used to be that we could, it's also a different time in the market where there was much less capital in there, and a lot of the social media platforms and everything else hadn't really developed like they are now. But it used to be that we could, hold on, Jay. Are you?
We're good. Keep going. I'm just doing different views as you're talking.
Sorry about that. I thought you disappeared and maybe you weren't
Nope.
on the
I'm
video.
here.
My bad, everybody. So I was saying it used to be, back around the time where we started HMB, that we could blast out an email to our list and just get tons and tons of loan applications and incoming phone calls and everything else, and then work a deal from there. And that stuff is true to some extent now. There are just more ways to do it. Look, like if somebody sends you an email, says, hey, I want to talk about a loan, and you get on a phone call, great. Like you're headed in the right direction. If you're running paid traffic like we are, we're running a small volume of high quality traffic. Those loan applications are good. They come in, we have a good amount of detail, and someone on our team can get on the phone with them as soon as possible, try to make a deal. One thing that we're trying to get away from, we're going to go through a few details here. One thing that we're trying to get away from is back and forth emailing, where you don't really have any chance to build rapport, sell, get really, into the deal specifics, start a relationship with somebody. Like the reality is that stuff's changing. AI, a lot of things out there you're going to see are going to be fake increasingly. Just now on social media, you see videos and you're like, is that real or is that fake? Like if everything just becomes fake, people are just going to crave human connections even more, right? And so that's why we're going to break down some stuff that we're doing to develop our sales funnel, sales and marketing funnel, including both online and offline stuff.
They already are craving it, and people want to get on the phone. People want to meet in person. People want to know that you're a real human and a real capital source. Think about 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there wasn't much online presence anywhere. Everything was done, through human interaction, shaking hands. Yes, there was phone calls and things like that. But think about old school bankers. You go in the bank, you apply for a loan, you're creating a relationship, and they give you a loan based on that relationship. And I remember when we started HMB, in 07 and 08 and 09 and 2010 and so on, we had very, very, very profitable business, a growing, scaling business of just creating relationships with people, because you get in touch with somebody, you go meet them at the property, you go do a draw inspection, and you were there and you were just seeing people all the time. Hey, do you have a contractor that might need a loan? Do you have a friend that might need a loan? Any other real estate investors are working? Oh, you're ready for a new loan. Let's do this. We always encourage new hard money lending companies, or even some that are struggling to try to find new opportunities, to make sure you're putting in the time and the effort to work hand in hand with your clients and meeting them. I mean, think about this. Let's say you do a new loan for a borrower and you go out to the property and you meet them because you want to do an upfront inspection, take some pictures, have a relationship with them, meet them, right? So you go to that property and then you do 4 draws. Every draw request, you go back to the property. You meet them, you meet their contractor, you meet their business partner. Not only is this a good idea for underwriting them, right? You can see them, you can meet them, you can get a good judge of character, but it's also building rapport and creating relationships. You don't think they're going to give you the next deal if you see them 5 times in 3 months, right? Like every time you're there, hey, you working on any new deals? You doing this? You doing that? Like it's a no brainer. And as we've grown as a company, like me personally, individually, have gotten away from that. But that's one thing that we make sure our sales reps and our partners that run our other offices are not getting away from. We want to make sure we have that human element, because it's so important to to do that. And listen, it's best to be in person. It's second best to do some sort of like Zoom call. It's third best to take a phone call and talk to people on the phone, which is still a fine way to do it. And then get away from the email and the text and the things like that. Now, those are obviously good resources to use. Coincidentally, the first book that Chris and I wrote was called The Whiteboard, and we had this chapter called The Online Offline Blend. And that's exactly what this is. Use online tools, which are now AI tools, in order to get folks picking up the phone and calling you or meeting you, and then use that human interaction to sell the deal and close the deal, because that's what people want. And again, I get it. It's not scalable to go meet every single borrower up front or have them come to your office. I get that. Or maybe even do it over Zoom. But on the phone, it's a no-brainer. And what we've established lately, which makes a lot of sense, is because like what Chris started with, we wanted to do things, we were in a point back in the day where we were like, yeah, just email us your details and we'll take a look, because, volume, time, things like that. Hey, just fill out this loan application and we'll see what we can do. Nowadays, it's schedule a freaking call with us and let's talk and get on the phone immediately. And I know what the naysayers are going to say, like, well, I don't have time to talk to, 100 people a day. And you might not, but you can also use scripting tools. And we've talked about this on other episodes. You can use scripting tools to make sure you're not. I mean, a good conversation, building rapport with a borrower, I can do in like 5 minutes. And someone who's not qualified or someone we can't necessarily help with, that's a 1 minute or 2 minute call. So just do the math of how many you can do on a regular basis. But that's where stuff is done. And, we're all guilty of judging a book by its cover of, oh, this is, this borrower probably doesn't know what they're doing, or they're in an area or in a zip code that, we're not willing to lend on. Fine. Get on the phone, explain them what that you can do. If you can help them or you can't help them, ask for a referral and figure out what the next steps is to follow up with them in the future. But you got to get on the phone and talk to these borrowers. It's the only way you're going to kind of advance.
So let's add in some of the marketing stuff too, the content and marketing that we've been talking about that we are in the process right now of improving and expanding. So, okay, wherever you're located, like we're in Maryland, DC suburbs, that's one of our main lending markets, although we're in a few other states too. We should have DC area real estate investors seeing our content, many of them every day, right? Could be through a personal channel. I think people, like the good marketers always say that people prefer to follow people, not businesses, but it could be through a business channel too. That's where we're have been more focused and, looking to improve upon that. But let me give you an example. I connected with this woman who's a private lender in Chicago a couple months ago. She's not in our mastermind group, probably should be, but anyway, she's actively lending private funds on a small scale. I believe all like family funds, hers and family funds, on fix and flip deals around Chicago. And she does a good job of going out a few days a week and documenting what she's up to. She's doing draw inspections. And these are all hitting her stories and stuff. They might be posts too, but they're hitting like Facebook and Instagram stories of here's what her day was like. Here's her shaking hands with a client. Here's her doing an inspection. Here's her, going to the gym after that, like whatever it might be, right? And so if you can get the eyeballs of local real estate investors on content like that, they're going to reach out about, hey, maybe we should work together. They might even get to a point where they've seen enough of your content that they feel like they know, like, and trust you. And then they really want to do business with you, right? Like that's like creating that effect that we want, is incoming leads already feeling like they know us and know our team and our operation based on the content that we put out. Now, if you want to layer in the stuff that we talked about before, you make the call to action on your content, book a call, right? They go to your scheduling link and they schedule a 15-minute call for 5 p.m. today. Perfect, right? That's exactly the flow that you want. It's effective because people are seeing your stuff. They know about you and what you're up to. It's efficient too, because we're not talking all that many steps in this process. And then you have a very short window, such as later today, this afternoon, when you can talk to the phone on somebody and try to make a deal. That's a very short sales cycle. So this is the kind of stuff that, I don't think that we're behind on this. I'll tell you why. I think we're behind other marketers in other industries in this sort of stuff. I don't think we're behind other lenders because lending companies aren't really doing this stuff yet. And we are going to step up our game in this regard and, start converting more people into clients with the funnel that we just described.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think most lenders are guilty of not putting the extra effort in on each borrower or each lead to figure out ways to make a deal work. Now, I do believe that most lenders between like $1 and $5 million deployed, they do a good job of that. A lot of the members that we know in our mastermind group that are not getting that many leads, they're making the most out of everyone that they can, maybe to a fault where they should be, where they're not, they're doing deals that they shouldn't be able to do, but, they shouldn't be doing, they're giving higher leverage and not enough. But, think about it when you're starting out and you only have, a few leads kind of on a regular basis. Like you're doing everything. You're going to the property, meeting the borrower, you're inviting them to your office, you're going out to lunch, you're doing whatever you can, you're getting on the phone with them. You're very proactive, which you should be. But the goal of this game, it's a numbers game, right? You try to get as many opportunities as possible. And I mean, we're looking at, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of leads a day between all of our offices. And that's the goal, is to generate as much business as possible. But as these leads are coming in, obviously, you want to convert them and you want to get the highest quality one, but you gotta, map the funnel to get on the phone and work with them and see what makes the most sense and have those conversations and build a relationship. And, one of the things that we were talking to one of our partners with recently was like, at the end of every phone call, there's got to be the next action. Like, what's going to happen next? Like, hey, if they think there's a property that they're going to get under contract and it might happen tomorrow, great. Let's say, hey, let's schedule a call for 4 p.m. tomorrow and I'll call you then, right? Like that's the next action. If you're having a conversation with somebody, be like, hey, yeah, unfortunately it's bad timing. I just used Kiavi for this deal, but I'll probably buy something else in the next few months. No problem. Do you mind if I follow up with you, in the next 30 days? Hopefully I can help you then, right? You put them in your CRM, you put them in your Excel spreadsheet, you put them in your calendar, wherever you want to put them, and you follow up in the next 30 days. And over time, as leads are coming in and new contacts are entering, your desk, you figure out what's the next contact point. And you get them on the phone and doing that. And, we've been lazy of that or guilty of that over the years of just letting our email database run everything and sending out blast emails multiple times a week to provide value with the hopes that they're going to call into us, which they do, right? But as that's happening, let's put a layer of proactively reaching out to them and getting them on the phone and not just playing email tag. Email tag is bad. If someone emails you and says, hey, I just bought this property, I was curious how much you can lend on it, that is a trap. Do not fall for that trap. Do not, analyze it, look at it, get back, send them, a quote with your terms. That is a trap. Pick up the phone. If there's no phone number, say, hey, no problem. Definitely something I'd be interested in talking to you about. What's your phone number? I'll call you real quick, or book a time on my calendar and, we can schedule a call. And then when you're on the phone, you can go through with them, because if you're quoting terms over email, you're going to lose. You're going to lose because your rates are too high and your leverage is too low. That's just what's going to happen. But if you have the opportunity to convert somebody over the phone, there's a much higher probability that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a competitive market these days, and we have been for a while. That's not new. Back in the day, what made you special as a lender was just having capital, right? When we started, and even before we started, granted, we started at the bottom of a market because there was a crash and there was a real lack of capital. So that kind of exaggerated the situation. But even before that, when it was a fine market, like in the 2000s, you're talking, they're basically mom and pop businesses. Private lenders or hard money lenders were. They weren't public. You had to kind of know somebody. You had to kind of get in with a private lender on that side. Now there's so much capital around that doesn't make you special anymore. Just having capital no longer makes you special. If you go to a meetup group, there's going to be 5 lenders there besides you. Everyone's got capital. There's institutional money. There's private money. Okay, so that's out. We got to get a little better at this. And that's why we're so on top of this stuff. And we have been forever. It's changed. Like it used to be Google ads were super cheap, blast out some emails and you're just flooded with deals. And then social came along and then, okay, like where's this going? And then AI after that, then, okay, now all that, like I started with before, like all the AI stuff coming out is just going to want to make people work with actual people again. Great. Okay. How do we blend this stuff? How do we take advantage of the developments in tech for the marketing? And then on the sales side, the offline human elements of this. And that's what we are very focused on right now. I'm sure this is going to be when we have our next meeting in November. I'm sure this topic right here is going to be talked about from all kinds of different angles, because we get feedback from people in the mastermind group that, man, it's hard to win deals. It is hard to win deals. We're all working leads every day. People are getting other offers, better offers, cheaper, higher leverage. There's a lot of stuff to compete with out there. So our only option is to get better at the game, get better at this entire game.
And I think we all do that as a team. You know, the two of us, all of our partners and employees in our office, and everyone in the mastermind group, you know, who we chat with. It's like, hey, how can we collaborate to figure out ways that we can all be better at this game? Not only get more leads in the door, better leads in the door, but be able to convert them at a higher rate without having to charge less and, you know, lend out at higher leverage. Like we're very stubborn, and people know that if they know us, that, you know, we're making our borrowers bring a lot of money to the table on every deal, and our terms are higher, you know, at least the same, if not higher than everybody else locally. But we're able to accomplish that by, you know, focusing every day on generating more business and every day on more efficiencies. And, you know, this, you know, let's call it sales funnel, you know, that we've been really concentrating on lately is we need to do a better job to make sure we're getting on the phone with every single person, not 99% of the people, 100% of the people, no matter what. And we're all guilty of it, right? I got a lead earlier today that in essence wasn't an area that I don't lend in locally. It was a local lead. And the right way to do it is get on the phone with them and say, hey, listen, unfortunately, you know, this isn't an area that we lend in. What are other deals that you're working on? The easy way to do that is just shoot them an email and say, hey, unfortunately, I don't lend in this area. Happy to help if you have anything else in the future. But that's not the right way to do it. Get on the phone, have a 2-minute conversation. It'll go a long way, build a relationship with them, and put some sort of follow-up sequence in place that you can automatically stay in touch with them.
Yeah, I'm glad you said this piece before, and I want to emphasize it again, is that the answer is not to make less money. The answer is not to charge less per deal. The answer is also not to increase your level of risk in order to get deals. Bad answer, wrong answer, not a good business model. And there are plenty of companies that are going to learn this the hard way in the coming years. That is the pod for today, guys. I hope you got some value out of this. If you haven't done so already, check us out at hardmoneymastermind.com. Join the community. We hope to see you in there, and we'll catch you next time here on the podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast. Please note that the opinions stated by all the speakers on this show are only opinions and not intended for legal, financial, or accounting advice. Please make sure to always check with your own legal, accounting, and financial professionals. If you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast, we'd appreciate it if you would spread the word. Make sure to check out hardmoneymastermind.com, the #1 free community for new and experienced private and hard money lenders.